Uninhibited, uncompromising, that rushes through your head like a freight train. Hang on for the ride. America's first competition talk show. You're in the hub.
Good day, it's Joel, Aaron, and welcome to America's first competition talk show, the Hub Internet Show. All week long, we have Jessica, Jamie, Barry, and Lee on the program, and we love to meet you on your mobile device every day this week. Now, we've got an interesting topic right now because the iPad came out just last week. Literally, and the iPad is supposed to be the newest magic formula for Apple. I mean, and arguably it really was, because I can't get over this. In the 60s, our parents' generation stood in, I guess that they pitched tents in grassy fields for free pot, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Today, we pitch tents in gravel parking lots to buy techno gadgets. I mean, the revenge of the nerds has come for us full circle. They have won in this country, Jamie.
Well, first of all, they are some of our predecessors pitched tents because that's how they lived. But yeah, it's amazing. But what's interesting is that the device is arguably getting larger, right? And I think the big challenge with the iPad is its connectivity. That there have been some significant concerns about its ability to actually connect. So this may be one case where it's not the best deal to be an early adopter.
Yeah, and plus we just, we isolate the boomer generation. We lost the boomer generation the first week of the show.
No, they're right. But it's big screen, big type.
Yeah, true enough,
right?
True enough. And you can do bigger fonts, increasingly bigger fonts.
I know that it'll change when you can go to like the Walgreens and you can have a whole rack of big readers, like disposable with your reading glasses.
Yeah, well, and the thing about it is, and Jessica, maybe you can comment on this, I mean, it's pissing off the feminists, because the iPad is the most, I don't know, sexually derogatory term. It just really, I guess, I mean, that's what I've heard. Is it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Way to play ball.
No, as a feminist.
Radical at that. Bra burner still.
Conservative feminist. I think it's just funny. In fact, I think the iPad is complete unnecessary. I've got a computer, I've got an iPhone. Do I really need something in between?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, good point. And right now they're saying, Apple themselves is saying, there is one individual who's unnecessary, and that's Al Gore, who's sitting on the board. And just last week they had their powwow before the iPad was rolled out. And Al Gore comes up, and they're actually determining whether he's an asset or a liability to the Apple board right now because of the global warming fiasco. So, Lee, do you keep him on the board? Do you cut him off? Because about half the room wanted him to stay, half the room wanted him to leave. And quite honestly, the only reason they wanted him to stay is because, it's political capital for Apple. I think. What say you?
I would say anytime a corporation makes any decision based on politics, they're headed for the dustbin. I mean, this absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. The corporation is created to provide value to the shareholders. And no one should care one way or the other what someone's politics are that sits on any board under any circumstances. The net is he an asset to Apple generally? Now, what can Al Gore bring Apple? He can bring them notoriety. He can bring them clients. And if he offers some valuable business advice, of course, Al's never really had a real job, so that may be unlikely. But if he can bring those things, then he's a value to the shareholders. The net here in reading the article you referenced that I find fascinating is the fact that we've now got a situation where you've got such huge corporations in this country and such little shareholder control. Over the years, we tried to move to a system where you had fewer of the CEO's golf buddies on the board, and that definitely, being in business, the trend has definitely been in that direction. But by and large, the people who own shares in these companies don't participate. I mean, God bless the guy who stood up, who was characterized in the article as a gadfly, but stood up and actually challenged company management on anything. Yeah. I mean, if you own shares in a company, you have a voice. And those proxy statements you get in your mail that you regularly look at, and they're 80 pages long, and you toss in the trash. Yeah. Now, granted, most folks don't want to worry about that. But the net here is any corporation that adheres to any type of political agenda whatsoever other than to the direct benefit of their shareholders is making a business mistake.
And especially if it leaks out. I got one of those last week, chunked in the mail. They said, if you want to fly to New York and help us make this decision on Wall Street, fly up here and vote. And I'm like, why the hell would I want to do that?
Well, I mean, you can do that if you can identify. And one of the things in social networking is you get into the iPad and the Facebook and that stuff. One of the things it can do is you've seen Facebook groups that reach over 1 million members in 2 weeks based on some nonsensical proposition.
Well, and here's the thing
that
really
something shareholders could actually do.
Yeah, and here's the thing that really frustrates me is that the whole reason they have Al Gore on the board, the whole reason they were having this discussion is because they're trying to be eco-friendly because of the impact of global warming. And I'm sitting here saying that they had two proposals from the shareholders for Apple. One was from this nonprofit group, As You Sow. They asked Apple to publicly commit to specific greenhouse gas reduction goals, and the other group wanted a sustainability report, or rather wanted a sustainability committee. So ultimately, I don't even know how much greenhouse gases are emitted by an iPad or a laptop computer. I'm sitting here thinking, if it's like your Kindle is raping Mother Earth. Low light it, or we are going to.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is to create a corporate image that is seen favorably by consumers, so they will buy your product. And in that measure, at the time they put Al on the board, he'd won the Nobel Prize, he won the Oscar, he had a huge movie out. It definitely would have attracted, and also, I'm somewhat of a Luddite in that I have zero interest in owning an iPad or zero interest in most of the technology out today. But, for the folks that love that stuff, by and large, these are people that are sort of bobos. They're bourgeois bohemians. Well, and they like that stuff. So
Jamie,
it creates a positive image for the company.
Let me spin it this way, because one of the things that's come out here just recently in light of ClimateGate coming on in the latter part of the year last year, early part of this year, is that the administration's initial proposal to try and ramrod through cap and trade legislation has not got the success. It certainly doesn't have the support in Washington, D.C. that it had before. They had a coalition that was a three-year-old membership-based coalition called the U.S. Climate Action Partnership. Just last week, BP and ConocoPhillips and Caterpillar pulled out or chose not to renew their membership. I think largely because of the politics, but here's the thing. They are still moving forward with this. Right now, they are circumventing a lot of the legislative process that would have passed cap and trade. What they're realizing is, we can't get cap and trade passed, so what are we going to do? We're going to go to the Environmental Protections Agency, and we are going to regulate in what we wanted to do by regulating energy use in this country. And what you can't do legislatively, you just do through an agency. To me, that this thing smacks of hypocrisy on the part of Congress, which is nothing new to us. But the thing is, Washington, what do you think? I mean, at this point, their poll numbers.
The Bush administration did the exact same thing when they were controlling the EPA.
Yeah.
One of the things you have to recognize if you're going to be an astute observer of politics is that both parties do things every single 4 years. Whoever's got the White House and got control of bureaucracy is going to do this. Bush administration lowered limits on lead, lowered limits on dioxin, lowered limits on other pollutants because that was the way they could get it done without creating a firestorm in Congress. So whether you agree with the goal or not, it's not necessarily hypocrisy, and it's not anything that hasn't been done before, and it's something the next administration, whether it be Republican or Democrat, will continue to do.
Well, Jamie, is it too late for the American people? Because you look at the poll numbers right now, you say 7 to 8 to 9% approval ratings for Congress, and yet they're moving forward this anyway. Are they just basically cutting ties now with the American people, and it's a policy free-for-all?
Well, no, I think
they're going to lose anyway, so might as well pass it.
Well, no, I think you actually have some corporations are really actually legitimately figuring out what is in our best interest. And if it is in our best interest to be on the side of shaping legislation which we perceive as passing, then we'll lend our weight to kind of shift the policy in a direction that favors us. But I really think that some of this reflects, there's a huge conflict in the Chamber of Commerce right now where people aren't necessarily on board with some of the direction that they're taking. So I think individual consumers are adapting their behavior in specific ways, and on the large level, corporations are facing those same challenges. They're just responsive to their shareholders.
Whatever.
Bottom line is, you do not have free markets when the rules are different for the away team. And that is ultimately what we're dealing with the climate change legislation. See you tomorrow on The Hub.